A 7-year-old girl sat between her mother's knees on a Saturday morning while a hot comb heated on the stove. Someone said, "Hold your ear." She held it and did not move. She sat there for 2 hours while a woman who had worked all week turned her kitchen into a beauty salon without charging a dime. That girl learned more about patience, pain, and love before third grade than most adults learn in a lifetime. And nobody called it a lesson. Number 19 on this list will make you laugh because every black woman alive knows the feeling. Number 6 is something every little girl overheard but was never supposed to. Number 4 is a smell that can take you back 30 years in a single breath. And number 1 is the one gift black girls received that kids today will never have. Here are 25 things black girls did in the 70s and 80s that kids today would never understand. Number 25, sitting between your mother's knees to get your hair done. This was the first thing black girls learned to sit through. The rat tail comb parting through thick hair, the sting when it caught a knot, the smell of blue magic and pink lotion in the warm air of a Saturday kitchen. Your mother watched TV or talked on the phone while her hands worked through section after section. She snapped barrettes into place and threaded beads onto braids that took hours to finish. You learned not to move your head, not to cry over a tender spot, and to sit still when everything in your body wanted to squirm. The woman behind you had been on her feet all week. She was not interested in hearing complaints about a comb. That chair between her knees was where black girls first learned patience, toughness, and the kind of love that does not always sound soft, but never once lets you leave the house looking like nobody cares about you. Number 24, getting your ears protected from the hot comb. The metal comb sat on the stove until it was hot enough to sizzle when it touched greased hair. The smell of heat and pressing oil filled every room. Someone would say, "Hold your ear and fold it down flat," while the comb passed close to your skin. You could feel the warmth, like a warning. You held your breath and tried not to flinch. Flinching could mean a burn, and a burn meant your mother felt worse about it than you did, even though she would never say so. The kitchen became a beauty shop every weekend. A towel over your shoulders, a jar of grease on the counter, and a woman who could straighten hair like she was performing surgery. Kids today see hair as something fun. Back then, hair was how someone proved they loved you enough to spend their only free morning making sure you looked right before you walked out the door. Number 23, coming inside when the streetlights came on. This was the only curfew black girls needed. No text messages, no phone calls, no tracking apps. The streetlights were the clock, and every child on the block knew it. You could ride your bike, play double dutch until your arms burned, walk from house to house. Nobody worried about where you were. You just had to be on the porch before those lights buzzed on. The whole block ran on the same rule. Somebody's mother was always watching, even when yours was not. Freedom came with one clear line: respect it, and you got more of it the next day. That was the deal. And black girls learned it before anyone ever handed them a watch. Number 22, spending all day at the beauty salon. Your mother brought you along because she had no other choice. You sat in a plastic chair for 4 or 5 hours, breathing in the sharp smell of relaxer and the sweet cloud of spritz. Women talked around you like you were not there. They talked about men, money, jobs, church gossip, health problems, and who on the block was doing what. You pretended to read a magazine, you pretended to sleep, but you heard everything. The salon was loud with laughter and blunt with opinions. Those women spoke to each other in a way the outside world rarely let them. By the time your mother paid at the front counter, you knew things about being a woman that no classroom would teach you for years. You walked out knowing things you were too young to fully get, but old enough to hold on to for later. Number 21, recording songs off the radio onto cassette tapes. You sat next to the stereo with your finger on the record button, waiting for your song to come on. Sometimes you waited 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. When the DJ finally played it, you pressed record and held your breath. You prayed he would not talk over the start. If the recording came out clean, that was a win. If it did not, you waited and tried again. You made mixtapes by hand. You wrote the song titles on the little card in your neatest writing. Every track was picked on purpose because the order mattered. A mixtape made for someone was a message. What you put first, what you hid in the middle, what you saved for last. All of it meant something you might not have had the words to say out loud. Number 20, having school clothes, church clothes, and play clothes. Every black home had this system. You changed the second you walked through the front door. You hung up what was meant to last and put on what was already worn. Sunday dresses were not touched until Sunday. School shoes were cleaned the night before. If you scuffed your patent leather before church even started, the look on your mother's face said everything. One pair of good shoes had to last the whole season. Hand-me-downs from older cousins came in bags and were sorted like they mattered. Because they did. Somebody's outgrown coat was your winter fix. Slips were worn under dresses whether you liked it or not. Tights itched, and nobody cared. Black girls learned early that everything had a purpose, and taking care of what you had was its own kind of earning. Number 19, getting your face, knees, and elbows checked for ash before you left the house. Your mother kept Vaseline, cocoa butter, and lotion on hand at all times. She could spot dryness from across the room. You are not leaving this house looking ashy was not a suggestion. It was a ruling. And it sent you back to the bathroom to lotion every dry spot until your skin was smooth. White streaks on dark knees were taken as a personal insult to the household. Your mother kept lotion in her purse for public touch-ups. Ashiness was never just about dry skin. People read it as neglect. It meant nobody at home was paying attention. And black mothers refused to let their daughters walk through a world that already judged them while looking like nobody cared enough to hand them a bottle of lotion. That Vaseline jar was armor. Your mother put it on you like she was sending you to war. Number 18, being raised by the whole block. Every adult around you had permission to correct you, feed you, or tell on you, and the news always got home before you did. Your mother's coworker lived 3 doors down. Your auntie, who was not really your auntie, sat on her porch and saw everything. The woman at the corner store knew your family name and would call your house if you got smart. You could not act up 2 streets away and get away with it. Somebody always knew somebody who knew your mama. This was watching and protecting all mixed into one. Black girls grew up knowing that community was not a nice word people say in meetings. It was real. It was daily. It was people who decided you were their business whether you liked it or not. Number 17, using a payphone and knowing numbers by heart. You had your mother's work number in your head, your grandmother's house, your auntie's line, at least 2 neighbors who could pass along a message. Coins stayed in your pocket or your sock or the little zipper pouch your mother gave you. The payphone at the corner store was your lifeline when something went wrong, when you missed the bus, when plans changed. Calling collect was its own skill. You crammed your whole message into the space where you were supposed to say your name, talking fast before the recording cut you off. No saved contacts, no cloud backup, no device holding anything for you. If you forgot the number, you were stuck. Black girls did not get stuck. The women who raised them made sure of that. Number 16, answering the house phone the right way. The phone rang and you said, "Hello, may I ask who is calling?" That was the minimum. You were never allowed to say your mother was not home. You took a message, repeated it back, and put it where she could see it. Being rude on the phone had real costs. The telephone stood for the whole house. How you talked into it told the caller how you were raised. Black girls learned early that their voice carried weight. The way you spoke to a stranger on the phone was not about the stranger. It was about you, and about the woman who would deal with you later if she found out you answered wrong. Number 15, watching music videos and learning every dance in the living room. The TV played videos after school and on weekends. The living room floor became a stage. Cousins taught cousins. Sisters went back and forth. You learned the moves by watching and rewinding the tape until you caught the footwork. Then you practiced until it felt right. Nobody filmed you or posted it. Your only audience was your own reflection in the window or your cousin on the couch saying your timing was off. Dance was something shared, something passed around at cookouts and in schoolyards. It belonged to the community before it ever belonged to a screen. Number 14, reading magazines that showed black faces. Those magazines sat on coffee tables and in bathroom racks. The pages showed black women who were beautiful, known and celebrated in ways the rest of the media refused to show. Girls cut out pictures and taped them to bedroom walls. They studied hairstyles. They picked out crushes who looked like the people in their own families. Those pages were mirrors at a time when most of what you saw on TV was a window into someone else's life. A magazine with a black woman on the cover was not just something to read, it was proof that you existed, that you mattered, and that beauty came in shades the rest of the world was still learning to see. Number 13, getting sent to the corner store with cash and a list. Your mother counted out exact change, handed you the list, and told you not to lose the receipt. You walked knowing every item had to come home, and the change had to be right. Taking too long would bring questions. If there was money left over, you might get a piece of candy. But you never just took it. You asked, and sometimes the answer was no, and that was the end of it. Those trips were training dressed up as errands. Everyone was a small test, and you passed it because failing was not something the woman who sent you would allow. Number 12, sleeping at your cousin's house with no check-in calls. Your mother dropped you off, and that was the last word between adults until someone came to get you. You packed a bag and walked into a house full of cousins who treated you like one of their own. Blankets and flat pillows went on the floor. You stayed up past midnight telling stories, making prank calls, eating food that tasted different from what your mother made. The grown-ups trusted each other, and that trust gave you a kind of freedom that felt huge. Black girls grew up in networks where blood family and chosen family ran together. A weekend at your cousin's house taught you things your own bedroom never could. Number 11, cleaning the whole house before company came. When your mother said somebody was coming over, the mood changed. Vacuum lines had to show in the carpet. Baseboards had to be wiped. The bathroom had to smell like bleach. The kitchen like pine sol. The living room had to look perfect. You dusted, swept, scrubbed, and stuffed clutter into closets nobody would open. That house had to say something to whoever walked through the door. And what it said was that this family had standards. Black girls learned early that how your home looked when the doorbell rang was a statement about who you were. Number 10, getting checked before church every Sunday. Your mother stood at the door and looked at every detail before you stepped outside. Hair done, shoes clean, clothes pressed, no wrinkles. If something was off, you went back and fixed it while the car sat running and her patience got thinner. Church was where the whole community saw your family at once. How you walked through those doors told people everything. The woman checking you at the front door was not being hard on you. She was making sure the world saw what she already knew, that her daughters were worth every minute she spent getting them ready. Number 9, knowing not to touch grown folks' things. Your mother's purse was off limits. The perfume on her dresser was not a toy. The good living room was for company, not for kids. The thermostat belonged to one person, and that person was not you. You learned fast which spaces were yours and which were not, which drawers you could open and which would earn you a look. Respect was not explained. It was enforced the moment you crossed the line. Black girls understood early that self-control was not something you learned later. It was expected now. Number 8, speaking when you walked into a room. You came in and you spoke to every person there. Hey was not enough. Good afternoon followed by a name or ma'am or sir was the standard. If you forgot, or if you mumbled, or if you tried to slide through without saying a word, someone corrected you on the spot. And your mother's face told you that the next talk would be private, and it would not be pleasant. Black girls learned that walking into a room meant something. Manners were not extra. They were proof that someone at home took raising you seriously. Number 7, eating what was cooked or going hungry. There was one meal for the house. It sat on the stove. You fixed your plate, and you ate it. Nobody asked what you wanted or made something different for the picky one. This is not a restaurant ended every debate before it started. If you did not eat, you waited until morning. Leftovers came back the next day. Sometimes the same, sometimes dressed up a little. You ate them because waste did not fly in a home where the grocery money had to stretch all week. Black girls learned that food was not about what you felt like having. It was about a house running the way it needed to. You showed thanks by finishing your plate. Number 6, learning grown-up things by listening to talks you were not supposed to hear. The aunties sat around the kitchen table and said things that would have gotten you sent to your room if they noticed you were still there. They talked about money problems, bad relationships, health scares, who did what and who knew about it. You sat in the corner or stood in the hallway and took in every word. You picked up tone, timing, and the way grown women handled hard things without falling apart. Stay out of grown folks' business was the rule everyone said out loud. But the real lessons came through anyway, because you were small and quiet and nobody checked to see if you had left. Number 5, walking through the mall all afternoon with your girls. You went to be seen, to try on things you could not afford, to spray perfume on your wrists, to make $10 or $15 last as long as you could. A soft pretzel or a cup of orange Julius could stretch 90 minutes if you paced yourself. You looked at everything with focus because you were figuring out your style, your taste, who you wanted to be. Your mother gave you a little money and you came home with earrings, a lip gloss, and change. You had been watching a woman stretch a dollar your whole life. That skill just showed up in you without anyone meaning to teach it. Number 4, the smell of a Sunday morning. Gospel on the radio, breakfast on the stove, eggs, grits, bacon, maybe biscuits if someone had the time. The iron warming up in a bedroom, someone running a bath, someone else looking for a missing shoe. The house smelled like food and pressing oil and the faint sweetness of lotion on skin still damp from the shower. Everything moved toward one deadline. Everybody had a job, and the goal was always the same: get to church on time, together, looking like you had it all figured out. Black girls took in the rhythm of those mornings without anyone spelling it out. The rushing, the pride, the feeling of walking out the front door as one unit. Number 3, doing homework at the kitchen table with no help. You had a textbook, maybe an encyclopedia if your family had the set, and your own brain. If the book did not have what you needed, you went to the library the next day. Or you asked the kid in class who always seemed to know. The kitchen table was your desk, your mother's bill-paying spot, and the dinner table all in the same night. The radio played. Someone cooked, and you sat with a pencil and loose leaf paper and got through it because the rule was that homework came first. There was no quick search, no easy answer. Solving a problem took time, and that time taught Black girls to sit with something hard instead of running from it. Number 2, using whatever was in the house for beauty fixes: Vaseline for chapped lips, ashy elbows, and dry patches that showed up overnight. Baby powder when the deodorant ran out, bobby pins holding a hairstyle together midday, safety pins pulling a loose dress tighter or saving a broken strap, a toothbrush and water for edges when gel was not around, clear nail polish to stop a stocking run before it spread. None of this came from a store or a screen. It came from watching your mother or your grandmother grab what was close and make it work. Buying something new for every problem was not an option. Black women had been fixing 10 things with one product for longer than anyone could remember. Number 1, growing up without a camera watching you. This was the gift Black girls in the 70s and 80s got without knowing it. Mistakes went away with time. Bad haircuts grew out. Embarrassing moments stayed in the heads of the people who were there and nowhere else. No screenshots, no videos, no record of your worst day following you around forever. You got to be 12 without putting on a show. You got to be 16 without worrying that one bad choice would live online for the rest of your life. The pressure was real. Black girls had eyes on them from every direction. But they also had something kids today do not: privacy. The kind that lets a person trip and get back up without the whole world giving their opinion. They got to grow into women behind closed doors, on phone calls that left no trail, in neighborhoods where people knew your name but not your business. That privacy was not something they thought about back then. But it was the thing that let them become who they were, at their own speed, in their own way, without a single lens pointed at them while they figured it out. Which of these memories hit closest to home for you? Drop it in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe to keep these stories alive.